Hey guys, this is Russ and Nique, and this is She Wolf Alchemy. And today we are talking about emotional permanence. So let me break down what emotional permanence is. Some of you guys might have heard of object permanence. And basically, what object permanence is something we refer to with babies when we're talking about stages of development. So, object permanence is basically kind of how, when a baby is only a couple weeks or months old and their parent leaves the room, they cry, right? And why do babies cry? Because to them, when you left the room, you cease to exist. For babies, object permanence is referring to the fact that if I can't see the object, I don't believe that it's permanent. I think it disappears the minute I cannot see it. So emotional permanence is a lot like that. It's the mental version of object permanence. So, like in the same way, emotional permanence refers to the ability to trust that the feelings that we have for other people still exist, even when the person's not physically there or actively telling us how much they love us, how much they miss us, how much they want us. It's having the ability to trust that we know these things and not need to be bombarded with like constant reassurance. So, before we dive into it, Nick, were you kind of familiar with this term?
No.
What about like the concept? Because like I know, for example, for me, this is something that I have worked with a lot of people to struggle with. A lot of times I've worked with a lot of people who have anxious attachment styles. And when you have an anxious attachment style, usually you struggle with a lot of emotional permanence. You struggle with a lot of, I need to have that validation. If you're not telling me, how am I supposed to know? If I'm not seeing you, how am I supposed to know? And while I do think there's a certain level of truth to that, like you should be telling people, I love you, I value you, I respect you, I want to be with you. But when we're talking about it at this level, it is, I need it constantly. If you're not telling me it right now, I feel like it slipped away. I no longer have it. And so I am constantly checking for ways to get you to validate this.
Yeah. I think I was familiar with not the term, but like I guess the actions or the feelings. I feel like sometimes I could be like that sometimes. And I'm still trying to like figure out my attachment style. Sometimes like, girl, you anxious attachment style. Like, cause I feel like that's even like with friends. I was like, I haven't talked to them in a long time unless I just like know the friend on that level and that's just how our friendship is.
Mhm.
But that friend could be going through something. I'm like, we're not talking. Are we mad? Are you okay? Are we okay? Even sometimes with guys, I'm getting better now, but I feel like sometimes this is me, unfortunately, in some situations. But I never knew like the name of it, I guess.
Yeah. Does that mean I'm your safe person? Because you don't. Whenever people are just like, where's the she probably tripping. It's fine.
I only have to
Right.
like
Like she
for
she be needing breaks, y'all. It's fine. You, you
yes,
did
but
not do the check-in. You have not done the check-in me in like we've been friends with like 14 years now. Like around year two, you was just like, oh, this is who you are as a human.
but I be wanting to do the check-in, but I'm like, I'm not gonna overstimulate her. I'm like, I guess I just know you, but you do want to check in, but I go back and forth about it. Like, I don't want to overstimulate her. If she wants to be left alone, I'm gonna leave her alone. See, so like, I want to know if you're okay, but the other hand, it's just like, let her be. Just let her breathe. Let her breathe.
I feel like I have the opposite because me, on the other hand, will not have talked to a person in 10 years and I'm like, they definitely still love me. And like, some, like, what?
It just depends. It just
Yeah.
depends. Cause I
Oh,
got
that's true. Because there are people who you definitely do not worry about that you have dated that you definitely weren't worried about how they feel.
or I'll be like, I feel like I don't know, I'm kind of getting that way. For the ones that I know for sure, I'm like, they're still thinking about me. But then it's like somebody gives me like uneasy vibes. I can't really quite figure it out, and I don't know what it is. But it's just like you have to know, you have to know, you have to know, and it's like irritating. It's probably irritating them, and it's irritating me.
Well, but
So,
I think that brings up like a really good point though, because I think when we're talking about emotional permanence, we also have
mhm.
to take into consider those things of like, is this something you have though when you are with someone that makes you feel secure? Or is it something that creeps in when there's some instability there, when it is some kind of like, I don't really know. Sometimes even when I'm with them, I'm not really sure. if the love is there, if the feelings are there, and so forth. Because I think that's very valid. Like, if I'm with somebody, I think most of us have probably had at least one person in our life that looks at us like we are made out of moon dust and stars. Like, you would be sitting there. I remember this one time I was dating this dude, and I knew I was his type. I knew I was his exact type. And I was like sitting on the couch one day, and I had on like a long maxi dress,
Hmm.
like nothing special, nothing special at all. No makeup on, button up. We have been dating for a while. And I remember one time just like looking up at him because he was cooking, because I can't cook, y'all. Requirement to date me. You have to know how to cook. We can't both starve. I have
I
a
think that's the
okay.
same for me. That's the same for me because I'm like, we gotta eat, and I'm not the one that's gonna do that for
My
you.
baby be so disappointed because her dad used to be a chef. That's what he went to school and stuff for. And so going from his house to my house, she's just always like, the air fryer again. Like, mama's trying. Mommy is trying. Uh, but yeah, I'm like sitting on his couch again, nothing fancy on at all. And I look up and this man is looking at me like, oh my gosh. And he said that, like, I looked up and he's like, dang. And he's just like, sometimes I can't believe I have you. And that's a beautiful thing to say to somebody. Tell women that. But I remember that feeling and remember like for a long time after that, just kind of not being like, I ain't worried about that man doing. I'm not worried about what he's doing. Well, I wake up with crust in my eyes, breath stank, and look at him, and the first thing he wants to do is kiss me and ask if I want breakfast. It's fine. And I
Mhm.
think though, when you have that type of interactions with people, yeah, it kind of makes it kind of feel like, well, when I'm with you, I'm not worried. And then you give me things to reassure me. You do little things to make me feel like, to let me know I'm on your mind when I'm not there, that you're considerate of me, you're including me in your plans without me having to say anything. That can make you feel very secure. And so then you don't really worry about these kind of things. But what is happening when you are dating individuals who aren't doing these type of things and you already have an anxious attachment style. You already worry about, hey, do they like me? Do they want me? And so forth.
Yeah, I agree because like I have dated when it's just like a confusion, like what are we doing? How do you feel? Like when I'm there, it's on 100, but when I'm not, it's probably on 5. So that's like very like really
Mhm.
confusing. But then dating and like going through dating now and dating somebody that's really intentional or dating somebody that's like really into me is like I don't have those questions at all. I'm not concerned about any of that at all. And it's refreshing and it's like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Now I gotta figure out if we match. But I'm confident in the fact that we do vibe and like each other and it's not like a lot of questions. And to be like in a night and day situation, it's a relief because that other part would brought out my anxiety, brought out my anxious attachment styles. So I guess it depends on the people, but even friends, like if we're not on good terms, like some friends can make me feel safe and other friends can make me feel like we good all the time. And that's still also overwhelming and make me have anxiety as well. So
And
yeah.
I think as we get more into this episode, we'll talk more about it. We really want to focus in on your part, what you can do, like how, because here's the thing. When you have a secure attachment style, even when you're with people who kind of keep giving you mixed signals or mixed bags, this isn't an issue for you. You just take that, okay, you're not doing those things. So I'm going to take that as a no. And I can
Mm-hmm.
leave. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
really a issue. Or you're like, okay, well, I trust what they say. And so I'm just trusting their actions and what they're saying. And then if they prove to me otherwise, oh, well, I can bounce back and I can move on. And that's what we're going to focus on this episode. But I do eventually want to circle back around to, but yeah, are we uh, things that make it harder to gain emotional permanence? And I do think some of it after you do the stuff working on yourself and as you're trying to grow on self. And I talk about this a lot of times with my clients that have anxious attachment styles. While you're trying to move to secure and while you're trying to work on yourself, you can't do it with a person that constantly triggers your anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with a lot of people who have anxious attachment styles. Y'all anxious attachment folks love y'all some avoidant people and they trigger you. And it's like, I'm trying to work on it. Why isn't it working? I was like, because you are still dealing with that person that gaslights you. It's hard to stay in that secure place, work on your coping skills, do all the things when you're constantly being tested. You didn't even get a chance to just be in it in a break and rest and practice it out. You
I
learned
feel
the
attacked.
skill and immediately got on the phone with this person that gaslit you. Yeah.
I feel attacked, but go ahead. No, but I agree. I agree.
I
Learning
can see
process. It's
why
a
you felt that way. But no, no, that was um
you know why. But
so I mean basically so when we're talking about emotional permanence, it's about like recognizing that our emotions are a fundamental part of our experience. And they're not just these like fleeting moments that come and go. Like when we're talking about recognizing our emotions, and I think this again goes back to like emotional regulation as well. My emotions should not turn with every win that comes across me.
Mhm,
That is exhausting. And so, as we're talking about emotional permanence, I think we have to first talk about emotional regulation. Do you have any emotional regulation, or does every single thing happens affect your mood in a big and severe way? And like a lot of things that we talk about on this podcast, it goes back to childhood. And this is where a lot of our issues when it comes to forming bonds with other people, but also regulating ourselves and our own emotions because your house and your parents and your family where you grew up in, that is training ground for the rest of your life
mhm,
on this is how you interact with people, or this is how people can be. And can you trust people? Can you not trust people? Are people safe? Are people not safe? When a child who feels like secure in their parents' love, they know that when their parents aren't like physically there, that love is still there. It's still very
mhm,
present. But if I grow up in a household where I never know what my parents' mood towards me is going to be, then that can be one of the ways. And it can be several ways, but that can also create one of the ways where you struggle with emotional permanence because, yeah, maybe sometimes my dad would ignore me. And that's how he would let me know he was mad. He would not talk to me. And that can create issues with emotional presence because it's like, no, because the absence of communication, the absence of interacting, that is how I was punished. And that's not
mhm,
always the way it goes. I had a father who was like that, like my stepdad. Let me be very clear, not the other Negro. But my stepdad was a very loving parent. However, kind of like I think what most of our parents, they just try to do better than their parents' generation. And my dad, he had a rough road with his parents. Like they had some toughness. And so for him, it's like I don't beat my kids. For him, the way he learned how to manage it was like, okay, so when I'm mad, I don't talk. And
mhm.
luckily that did not create an issue for me. It created some other issues, definitely in my love life, but it did not create that issue.
I think that would have created an issue for me because I mean, I'm not sure what my parents I know they did something that made me feel like I had to be good all the time or I had to do this to in order to get love. I can't pinpoint it right now. I'm sure it'll come out later in therapy or something like that. But I'm sure that's where it started from. And if my dad did that to me, I'd be in my room crying, like, especially like for more than one day. I couldn't handle it. And I feel like that would go into me like just chasing, chasing, chasing. Like, are we okay? Are we okay? Because I would just want. My dad didn't even have to do that. He just had to get like the little lines on his forehead, and I knew he was mad. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I got to be good now because he has. They have to get straight. Like,
You need to iron those out.
yeah, so I believe it started somewhere in my childhood with some of that. Just not knowing how to discipline and really wanting the best, but not knowing how to get us there and
Yeah.
not just being robots and having our own feelings. And we're going through everything just like you guys. Not, we're not going through adult problems, but we're still trying to figure out our emotions. And that's just not the way to do it. But
Look, I always recommend before you have kids, try to heal as much as possible. And I'll be one to tell you, I didn't. Like my daughter really forced a lot of my healing. And I hate that in a sense because I don't I wanted to be healed before I had children. But to be honest with you, there was a lot of things about myself I did not recognize was an issue until I had a child because you see the way your children react to little things that you do. You're like, oh, dang, I should probably stop listening to Dipset when I drop her off to daycare. She she talking about selling drugs on 45th and Broadway. That's bad parenting. Bad parenting. Let me rewind some of that. Little things like that will have you changing your mind. But I will always recommend trying to heal before because you do end up passing some of these things down. And then later the child's 15, 20, 30, and you up here scratching your head like, I don't what you mean you got anxiety? Well, I don't understand. You had a good life. You have a blah blah blah. But kind of like you said, I grew up a pastor's kid, and so like I had a lot of anxiety growing up. Same type of thing. I know where mine came from because I was a PK, and so there was certain expectations put on me. There were certain things said to me, and so it was a huge thing for me to like really feel like I have to present myself a certain way. I have to do things a certain way. And it can be really, really hard on myself when I feel like I failed even just a little bit. And it was
Mhm.
because kind of like there was a period where it was like you have a role. And if you look bad, you make the family look bad. And that's a lot of pressure to put on a kid. And of course, that's not how what they're saying, but that's how our brains are interpreting it. And let's be honest, that is the message I want to give. Don't do this thing and embarrass us. Because when you
Mhm.
do something, embarrass everybody.
Yeah, and the problems have to stay here. Can't talk about it's just like a lot of pressure, and it's just like, am I living right? Am I? And then you being a PK, it's just like, am I living right for God? Am I living right for my parents? It's just like, I don't know what to do. So it's a lot. So
Yeah. But, like, going back a little bit to, like, what I was talking about, like, again, my dad, he would, like, just go several days without talking sometimes when he was mad, and that can create issues for people, and I kind of feel like it did the reverse for me because he was so loving at other times, and so I just accepted that, and now did that lead me to liking emotionally unavailable men and then being emotionally unavailable myself? Yes, it did that, but didn't lead to issues with emotional permanence. Because I think I had that you're usually very loving, and then I just kind of go, all right, he gonna be silent for 2 days. I can get some stuff done. I gotta, ain't nobody gonna be asking me to do nothing. And I think because I had a little bit of that going on, it kind of created this thing for me where it was like, okay, I'm able to hold on to a positive emotions, to connections, and believe that my connections are stable, even if we're going through a rough path, even if that happiness, that stable feeling is not felt right away or felt in this moment.
yeah, it still makes you feel like everything will eventually be okay. So I
Yeah.
can understand it. Yeah, I can understand why. But like you said, it hurt other things, but this one, it didn't hurt.
Man, it hurts some other things. I mean, it's other people complain about those other things more than I do. But yeah, yeah, it
Yeah,
hurts some
yeah,
other things.
yeah, yeah.
So here are some signs that you might struggle with emotional permanence. One, you need constant validation. It is okay, you told me you love me, but like you ain't said I love you in like a day. So do you still love me? I'm needing a lot of validation. This is even, and I know some of y'all are gonna get mad at me for this, but this can doesn't have to be, but this can even be like that. I posted a picture. Why didn't you like my picture? And it's like, because I live with you and I see you. And I told you it was pretty when you put the outfit on. I'm the one who took the picture. And I said it's a beautiful picture. I didn't know I also had to like that picture. You like
You still need to put the love there. No, you still yeah, still need to put the love on there.
oh, I like hiding my men. So that's never an issue.
True. Okay, so another one is you just can't self-regulate. And this is just like, okay, trying to figure out what's going on. And it's like spiraling and keeping you up at night, and you just can't calm yourself down. So that is definitely another sign that I have went through as well. So yeah, this is it's reading me today, but I'm getting better. I'm getting better, but I definitely can relate to that. Just like not self-regulating, and for me, it was get really frustrating. It was just like, okay, life is going on. Like they're not even thinking about this, and you shouldn't make it a big point of your life. and it's like really irritated me because I was trying to find like coping skills to not spiral or not to just trying to find ways to self-regulate, I guess. So it was becoming irritating, but it's something that I have went through before.
Yeah, I mean, emotional regulation is so important for multiple reasons. Like, yeah, we talk about it. I think a lot of times, especially when it comes to like kids, it's more so like for school and so they can interact with other and social beings. But like, it can really deeply affect the way that you love. It can really deeply affect the way that you receive love. And if you can properly receive love, and it's such an important skill that, like, especially with kids, me, both have daughters, our daughters are the same age. It's so important to teach. It can be so hard, and I think it's easier to just kinda give up and be like, "Oh my gosh, here's your iPad, go sit somewhere, fine." So, like, you can regulate yourself, but that's teaching them to just distract. And here's the thing, distraction is not always bad. It is a coping skill because sometimes you do need distraction. It should not be your only coping skill, however.
Mhm.
And I know one of the things I actively, try to practice with my daughter is, like, when she have blow ups is like, do your breathing, do your breathing." Now, does she do them all the time? No. But we try, and 50% of the time, we get her to do her breathing, and she'll deep breathe, and I'm like, "Okay." And in, keep your back straight. Okay, when you're breathing the air in, it should be going to your belly, big belly. Let me see your belly puff out. That's the only way mommy knows you're getting the air in. Hold it, hold it. Okay, baby, release. And when she does that, she can at least calm down her nervous system. When you have therapists and you're like, why do they keep trying to make me meditate? Why do they keep trying to make me do breathing? I want to talk about my ex. It's because I need you to regulate your nervous system in order for you to grasp onto the things that I'm trying to teach you. You
Mhm.
can't hear me if your system is unregulated and you're still in like fight or flight mode. You're still real amped up and hyped up. When I'm talking to you about other coping skills, when I'm trying to help you process, you're not able to get the full benefits of it because you're dysregulated. And so teaching you those type of skills, that's just some of them. Deep breaths, meditation, there's other ones as well, but teaching yourself how to regulate your nervous system because I have to regulate my body first before I can start regulating the rest. I can start regulating my emotions as well. And that's how it works with several things. A lot of times when you're in grad school and you're going to school for therapy, that's one of the things they teach in several of the classes is rule out physical stuff first before you start jumping to giving diagnosis for other things. One of those examples is like hyperthyroidism can look like bipolar disorder if it's untreated. And I'm bringing
Mhm.
it up to say, again, first, manage regulating the body first before we can get to your emotions and your mental. We have to deal with what's actually going on physically.
Yeah, because even like when you're like low in vitamin D for African American women, low in vitamin D, low in vitamin B, all those things, you can also come off depressed or tired all the time. And it could just be you need to regulate those vitamin deficiencies and you could see a change. So
Yeah. And so regulation is a big part of your being able to
Mhm,
feel emotionally and mentally stable. Another
mhm,
sign that you might struggle with, which can mean that you struggle with emotional permanence, is you detach the minute you aren't assured, or you aren't seeing the person frequently, or you aren't getting that
mhm,
validation frequently. You immediately go to detach mode. Now,
mhm.
this is definitely something I'm familiar with. Even though I don't feel like I struggle with emotional permanence, I think I might have at some point in time, probably if I really sit and think about it. But, detachment, that is my area. It's and years of me practicing and and sadly May, a whole bunch of money to learn how to not do this for a profession, it's still something that does not come natural to me. And I wanna put that out there because sometimes when we're learning skills and we're trying to heal, we get really, really hard on ourselves, like, "Why haven't I got it yet? Why haven't I done it yet? I shoulda get it together now." Be gentle on yourself. It is
Mhm.
hard to unlearn patterns that one you've been using for what 30 something years. It's hard to unlearn that. It's also hard to unlearn patterns that have kept you safe because here's the thing. Sometimes these dysfunctional coping skills and traits that we learn or we use that we're trying to get rid of now, sometimes they were really helpful for us at one point in time.
Mhm.
Sometimes they were really good. And so it is hard to unlearn something that your body recognized as safety. So give yourself a
Yeah.
break. And what it can look like when we struggle with emotional permanence, it can look like I need the validation. I need the consistent interaction. I need the consistent reassurance from you. I'm not getting it. So break up, end, done.
Mhm.
Next
Yeah.
person.
But we have learned it does not work.
Does not
It does
work.
not work.
It doesn't
So
work. I know for me now, especially like now, I use my communication skills because I've always been able to communicate. I just didn't use it. I know for me now, though, that I use my communication skills. I do that. I chuckle to myself sometimes when I think about how many things my first reaction was like, girl, detach, throw it away, get a new one. And I didn't. And I was just like, hey, give me a minute. Because I'm still a person that needs a minute. I can't fully charge into arguments. There's something called conflict types. And when you are the fight type of person, you like the minute there's an issue, like, let's have conflict. Let's talk it out. I feel a feeling. Let's talk about the feeling. I am not that person. There
mhm.
is other type is called the flight person or the flee person. And I am a fleer. I like to physically get up and move. Oh my gosh. I am like well known for getting mad and being like, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna just, where are my keys? Like, it just literally, be like, but we live together. I don't care. I
A hotel.
I once when I was pregnant and emotional, got in a fight with my child's father and like got up and got a hotel. Didn't tell him where I was going. Got up and got a hotel for a week. Had him calling everybody like, "Do y'all know where she is?" And I was just like, I'm done. It's like, y'all live together in a home. Y'all are engaged. Have a date. Maybe was this big enough? And I was just like, you know, should you talk about me? Just be like, I could just throw it away. Like, I don't know. I don't know why. Talking through, I guess, is technically an option. But this can be like a big sign that you struggle with this because it feels safer to be the one to get to reject than to sit in anticipation for rejection.
Mhm. So another one would be if your emotions like fluctuate frequently based on how much attention you are getting or not getting. So this can also be a neat thing. Um, yeah, because are you just like it's going into like okay, they're giving me all this attention, so right, we're cool, but then when we're not, it's just like I'm acting out or I don't understand or going back to not being able to self-regulate, spiraling. So it's just like a up and down. In all actuality, you need to be able to regulate yourself. So regardless of what type of attention they're giving or you're not giving, I'm okay. They'll come back around. We'll talk about it. I'm not going to base all my energy on just the way that they're going so up and down, up and down, up and down. And just noticing that about yourself and trying to figure out ways to cope with it.
And so, kind of going back to how it looks like as adults, when you are an adult and you struggle with emotional regulation, this is that I am struggling to feel loved and valued. I mean, this is that I can feel loved and valued in that moment. But as soon as you leave or as soon as I'm alone, I start struggling to keep hold of those feelings. It can feel like the moment you disappear, those feelings disappear, and I'm not sure those feelings are real. And this can lead to a lot of anxiety. And a lot of times it leads to a lot of insecurity because you're in constant search for its external validation. If I'm able to validate myself, then okay, when we're here and we're interacting and things are good and our patterns that we are good and solid, then when you're gone and you're away from me, I don't really question your love. I don't really question what we have. I don't question your friendship. I assume we're good because when we last left off, we were good and that's what we communicated. But when I'm struggling with emotional permanence, it can feel like, nah, the minute they are gone, I'm not sure what this is. Are we in love? Are we really together? This is that asking you, do you still love me? Would you love me if I was a butterfly? It can look like that.
So one thing that we can do is just make sure that we develop like a crucial relationship with yourself and just understanding what works for you and practicing that. And that like seeking validation from others in order to make you happy. Like this is what making me happy. This is what I understand. This is my truth. This is how I'm going to roll, regardless of what's going on around me. I mean, this will help you to just like going back to Rest was saying, just trusting yourself. This will just strengthen you to learn more about yourself and just give yourself the self love that you do deserve.
I agree. And one of the things I want to put out there is as you are learning to trust self, as you are learning to give yourself powerful affirmations and remind yourself of your strength, remind yourself of your values, give yourself a lot of self compassion during this time. I know for a lot of us, we struggle with being passionate towards self. We feel like I should get it already. I should be over this by now. Why am I still struggling? And a lot of us have been using coping skills that are yeah, they're not great, but they helped us during times of survival. And it's really hard for your mind to understand why am I throwing away this thing that helped me survive at one point in time? This was the tool I needed. I needed to seek constant validation because maybe I grew up in a household where I never knew if they, this was going to be a good day or not. And so I had to constantly seek out validation and see, yep, okay, they're in a good mood. And I'm going to keep doing things to keep putting their good mood. How can I just throw that away? That's how I survived at one point in time. Give yourself compassion when you are doing well, and then you fail a little bit, or you're struggling to get hold to the concept, but you're still trying. Make the effort and understand that this is stair stepping it. This is like teaching a baby how to walk when you're on your healing journey. Just like you don't expect a 7-month-old to get up and run across the room, no one is expecting you to do that during your healing process either. But little babies, when we're trying to teach them how to walk, what do we do? First, we teach them how to stand. And we
Mhm,
don't just tell them to stand, we hold their hand and we pick them up by their hand and teach them how to balance. And once they figure out how to balance, we teach them, okay, take one step. Oh my gosh, you got it. Take the, okay, you fell. Okay, that's okay. Let's try again. Take 2 steps. Oh, you got it. Okay, I'm going to hold your hand as you start slowly walking across the room. We're going to do this part for a while before I let go of your hand and you stumble. You take 2 steps and stumble. And it's going to be taking 2 steps and stumbling for a little bit before you take 5 steps, 8 steps. It's going to be
mhm,
taking 5 steps, 8 steps a bit before you learn how to run. Do that with yourself. You don't expect little baby who can't walk to get it the first try. You shouldn't expect that of yourself when you're trying to get rid of old negative habits.
mhm,
As long as you are trying and you're putting forth the effort to keep going, give yourself the credit for doing that and just keep putting the effort in. Now, secondly, I think one of the things that can help when we're trying to begin healing and strengthening our sense of emotional permanence is learning mindfulness skills and meditation skills. There's a reason why all your therapists are saying, meditate, do your deep breaths. Are we being mindful today? And it's because there is so much power in learning how to stay present and observe our thoughts without judgment. A lot of times, especially when we're feeling very anxious, our mind is thinking about things in the future or thinking about things in the past. And what we really need to be doing is sitting with ourselves and asking ourselves, what am I feeling now? Okay, you are mad at him because he's liking girl Instagram models pictures, and none of those Instagram models look anything like us. Okay, so let's try to sit and be present with what's actually going on. Ask ourselves some of those reflective questions. Okay, hey, is there a chance he's liking pictures on Instagram because Instagram is an app for liking pictures? Yeah, I guess technically you could say that. Okay, cool. So is he also liking pictures of Spider-Man and his homeboys and his uncles? I mean, yeah, but okay. So is that man just up here liking pictures? It feels like it was a free for all. Everybody could get a like. Yeah, but okay. So why are you mad? Because I'm feeling really anxious and I'm wondering what he's doing. Okay, why are you feeling anxious about this? Is it because of his actual action or is it triggering something else in you? I mean, it feels like a triggering, but what is it triggering? Because it was like when Daryl, he used to like pictures and he cheated. Okay, is this really about not being cheated on? Is this really about I have some old wounds and I'm being triggered right now and I'm projecting onto him? Is this a good man? Yeah. Has he give you any reason to believe he has cheated? Oh, but man be like, okay, no, bring it back to the present. Is this a good man? Yes. Has your relationship been good? Yes. Has he actually done something with his own actions that is not a projection of your ex that has made you feel like you can't trust him? I guess not. I mean, I guess he been good. Okay. So then let's sit with self. It sounds like you are triggered because we still have some insecurity and still have some pain. We still have some hurt and we are trying to hurry up and block and defend something that has not happened because it had happened
mhm.
once before.
Yeah.
You're scared. Do those reflective thoughts. The reason why we're telling you to be mindful and practice observing our thoughts is because a lot of times those surface level emotions that come off right away aren't what's really going on and isn't what's really happening. And when you only are addressing those surface level feelings, you're not getting to the real problem. And so that pattern of you randomly getting mad, overreacting, causing a situation in y'all relationship that kind of fractures it, just starts repeating itself happening over and over and over again because that's not even what it's really about. Mindfulness is not just your therapist being lazy and being like, girl, go listen to the music for 10 minutes while I sit here. No, it is because if I can learn to really sit and process why I am reacting the way that I am reacting, and I can get to the root of the cause, I can get to real change. But if I am only putting a band aid on a broken leg, I mean, the band aid looks pretty, but the leg's still gonna be broke.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think even going back to what we're talking about with emotional regulation, it's important to learn how to accept your emotions as they are without feeling a need to automatically reject them. It's one of the issues I have with the positively only movement because it's then like, no, positive vibes, positive vibes, positive vibes. And you are meant to feel the whole spectrum of your emotion. It is important to feel sadness. You can learn from sadness. It's important to also feel things like anger. I don't know if any of y'all saw the show American Gods, but Anasi, one of the gods on the show, says anger gets shit done. Anger is how you get revolution. It's important to feel all those feelings. And it's sometimes important to feel them without judgment, but actually out of curiosity. I'm angry. Okay, why? I'm angry because, okay, and if that's the real problem, can I fix that? Because what you'll find a
Mhm.
lot of times is that initial emotion, that surface level emotion is usually things outside of your control. I can't control what that man is liking. He gonna create a
Yeah.
burner, like him anyway. But
Mhm.
what I can control is I feel insecure because someone else previously hurt me, and now I carry that everywhere that I go. You have the ability to heal that.
Mhm. Okay. Another key aspect is to nurture our relationships with others. And this is just about building secure attachments and having open communication with your loved ones and just reinforcing the idea that you are valued and you are loved, even when you are not interacting with these people every day. You do have those relationships that you understand, like they might be busy or you might be busy, but these people still love me. And when you're building like these healthy communication skills, you won't have those thoughts in your head about the back and forth of why haven't they reached out or this or that. Like, you won't focus so much on that because you already had the playing field, right? You're already made the standard for your relationship and you guys have agreements and you just understand each other. It's about understanding each other and understanding your village and knowing those people that are safe and those people that are not safe. And if you have a lot of unsafe people around you, it's time to evaluate that as well. Oh yeah. And also, if you are having like sad feelings or you are feeling some different ways, it's good that you can just like reach out to those people, express that, and you guys can talk through it. And that goes back to just building that community and building that safe place with these close friends. Love similar.
And while Nick is talking about that, I also want to throw out there that I get it. There's some of us that are more of the loner types. I myself am a person who needs a lot of time by myself to function properly. And I get it. There's some of us that's like, we hear the word community and we're just like, oh my gosh, do not make me go interact with people. Do not make me be friends. Do not make me. I get that. But here's the thing, we are built for in human connection, all of us. There's so much research that shows that when you isolate a human being for too long, that it does insane things to our brain, to our mind, and to our emotions. And here's the thing: if you are a person who's kind of like me, like you value people alone, you value, having space, you can create a tribe where you can still have that.
Hmm.
Um, I have a tribe. My tribe knows we don't have to talk to each other every day, but we do check in. We make sure each other's good. I have a homegirl who legit, last time I talked to her, I had not talked to her. It had been like, every 2 weeks we were like, doing the check in, like, hey girl, how you doing? Whatever, whatever. We haven't had like a long conversation. And she hit me up to like, hey, do you have the emotional space or capacity? Uh, I got a lot of stuff I need to talk about. I'm like, yeah, girl, cool. And we did, and we had that. And it was like, it's nothing. Because That's the type of tribe I created. The type of tribe that I have is, hey, we can do check-ins and we can see each other. A lot of my tribe people, we live out of state from one another. So we
Mm,
visit each other. We meet up in a city. We do vacations, things such as that. It does not have to look like something very exhausting. It does not have to look like they gonna want me to call and they gonna want to text all the time. And I go to hang out every Saturday. I enjoy my Saturdays. It does not have to look like that. You can create your own tribe. And it also doesn't have to look like 15, 20 people, things like that. I know like me and Nique's tribe are very different. Nique has a bigger tribe and Nique is very social. Me and her talk about this all the time because my daughter's very social and I'm not. And Nique's daughter is very like, likes to isolate. And Nique's not. Nique's a very social person. And, like, even though we're a part of each other's tribe, like, our individual tribes look very different. These tribes are
mhm,
social, your friends like to go wild, you guys like to interact a lot, and that's okay, and that fits her personality, that fits with her, and my tribe is a lot smaller, and that's okay because that fits my personality. Having tribe or having community does not mean, "Okay, now I gotta force myself to be all
mhm,
folks and do all these things I'm uncomfortable with." No, but it does mean I do need to practice having community and what it means to be a safe community members for others so I can find other people to be safe with.
yeah, yeah,
And you can cultivate that and make it look like how you want it to look like. So don't
mhm,
let that word scare you. Oh, I knew it was a catch. I want me to talk about like, yeah, a little bit. But you can find the folks that you match with and you guys are on the same page. I do want to say though, as we're talking about tribe, kind of like I inserted a little bit earlier though, community is going to require you to do some changes. If you're not good with communication, yep, you're going to have to learn how to get better with communication. If you
yeah,
want people to be there for you, but you don't really like being there for others, hey, a part of community is learning how to be there for others. So there are some changes you're gonna have to make if you want a safe community, because a part of having a safe community is being a safe person as well.
mhm,
And that's a
okay,
important part, and that's a special part, and you gotta do the work to that part too. But you get
yeah,
freedom to make your tribe look like however you want it to look like. It don't gotta look like Gossip Girl. It can look like
mhm,
for whatever fits your personality.
yeah,
Another thing that can help with strengthening your emotional purpose is therapy, y'all. Therapy. Therapy is beneficial.
mhm,
And here's the thing, I'm not gonna get too deep into therapy because y'all know what therapy is. But therapy can look like a lot of different things. And if you are like, I tried therapy before, it wasn't for me. One, let's check to see. It might just not have been a good match with the therapist.
mhm,
Finding a therapist that you match with is a lot like finding friendships, is a lot like finding partners. It's not just well, you a person with a degree, so I guess you. No, you have to be able to sit with that person and feel comfortable with that person. And sometimes they're a good person. Sometimes they're a good therapist and they're just not a good match for you. That's okay. You can get up and move and find a new one. Try them out. If it's not working, you did a couple sessions with this one, it wasn't working. Okay, let's find another one. What did we learn from that one? I learned I don't like therapists that talk a lot. Cool. Well, let's go. And now we know that. And when we're doing consultation calls, let's see, do they talk a lot? Did they give me a space to talk? Or maybe
yeah,
let's bring that up in our consultation. Like,
mhm,
I want to talk a lot and need someone to listen. You can do your little
mhm,
interventions, but I do need space, take what you can, what you learn from that, and then go to the next one. And not only that, also there's different types of therapies. Talk therapy might not be for you. You might be the person that's like, I process everything. I ask all the whys. I do the self-reflective stuff. I did that. It's not enough. I need something else. There's somatic therapy. There's psychedelic therapy. There is hypnotherapy. There's different types of therapy and modalities. And so if you're like, "Hey, I tried it, it's not for me," then let's get a little curious. Maybe it was not that clinician was not the right one for you or not for this journey. Sometimes you're with a clinician and they really help at this point in your life, but you're in a new stage and it's not working in this new stage, and that's okay.
yeah. I think, like, for me, I went through, like, different therapists in different times of my life, and like you said, like, it's like finding a boyfriend or finding a friend. That's like it's just like any other relationship, you have to build it. And you were also saying, like, one therapist worked in one certain part of your life, because I had a grief therapist that did wonders for grief, but it's just like I can't go to her for other things. But for that time of my life, she really did help me a lot. And that's one person I can say that helped me a lot. One therapist. So it's like it's always about just finding what works for you, finding what works for you, and don't feel discouraged if that first person doesn't work for you. Because I've been through a lot, and I still don't say it. It's not me. It is not me. It just didn't work.
Look,
Yeah.
but even myself, like I had a therapist that I really enjoyed and was really helpful for one period of time. The minute I started talking about my love life, they was just like, I was like, okay, this is how it works. They were so
Mhm.
helpful when I was talking more about work stuff. It was really great. It was really helpful. It was really beneficial. But just when I was ready to move on to like, okay, let me work on some love stuff. Let me unpack some of
Mhm.
that stuff. Let me unpack some childhood stuff. It wasn't, it doesn't work there, but it doesn't take away from they were really helpful for when I was going through a rough time in my career. They were
Yeah.
really helpful when I was going through a rough time, just getting out of the bed. And that's
Mhm.
okay. It wasn't like it's time to give up. It was like, okay, that's where we are at with this person. That's okay. And let me get a break. And then when I'm ready, let's go back to seek out someone else or seek out another, again, modality or type of therapy.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. Another thing that's important is just like focusing on like your self care and regularly engaging in things that make you happy and bring you joy, such as like taking walks or just simple things. Just finding joy, taking yourself out to eat, just finding what works for you and brings you joy, and continue to like put those little things into your daily routines or monthly routines or however it works for you. Just making sure that you get those things in there, and this will help cultivate your, like, sense of worth and, your sense of happiness, and it just, like, overall, this helps us to regulate ourselves and understand that our happiness is valid in this journey.
Yes. And another thing I want to throw in when it comes to self care is like also a reminder self care, yes, can be getting your nails done. It can be like showering. I know we don't like to talk about it a lot because of, especially the Black community, we like to do the hygiene Olympics. And we like, girl, I take a shower before I go. I take 2 showers. Well, I brush my teeth 3 times. Like we really don't do it. I don't like conversations about hygiene in certain places because 'cause I'm just like, I get it, I get it. Y'all
Mhm.
each y'all skin off, y'all rubbed it down with rubbing alcohol and 5 perfumes. You're very clean, you're a clean person, I believe you. So I know a lot of times we don't like to talk about it, but it's a huge thing. A lot of times when people struggle with depression, like it's a huge thing that sometimes when people struggle with depression that they stop showering. It's a thing.
Mhm.
It is like I can't get myself to just go in the water and wash myself off. I haven't washed in 2 days. I haven't washed in 3 days.
Mhm.
That can be a part of self-care, like going back to basic hygiene and making sure you're taking care of your body. It can be also like I'm an emotional eater. A part of self-care can be about I'm gonna be mindful about what I put in my body. I'm gonna
Mhm.
be reflective when I'm wanting to eat a second plate. Why do I wanna eat a second plate? Am I actually hungry or am I using this as avoidance for my feelings? Am I using this as a way to give me dopamine because it's harder for me to get in other ways, but food does give it to me, and so I'm trying to replace something else. While we're talking about self-care, boundaries can be a part of self-care. Saying no can be a part of self-care. Putting yourself first is a part of self-care, and I wanna make sure we remember that as well, because I feel like a lot of times when we talk about self-care, we think about, like, getting my nails done or going for a walk, and those things are too, but also putting you first and being like,
Mhm.
"I spent the last 5 years taking care of everybody else. I wanted to do this thing. This thing has been my dream. I'm gonna go for it."
Yeah.
Can be self-care as well.
Okay.
In conclusion, healing emotional permanence, yes, it's a journey in self discovery and it's a journey of growth. And I think it's about embracing our emotions, nurturing our relationships, cultivating a stable sense of self worth. And when we do that, we can create a life where we are happy, even if we are the only ones validating self, because we have found it in ourselves. We have known to do in ourselves, and we are not swayed when we aren't getting that validation from others. So guys, hopefully this has been a helpful episode. We hope you guys liked it, enjoyed. Are we gonna have clips on TikTok? Girl, we'll see. I don't know. I'm gonna try. TikTok like hates us right now. And we've been trying. I promise. We've been recording videos. But I haven't been able to post them because TikTok it's just been messing with me, but we will see. So you can follow us on our TikTok, which is She Wolf Alchemy Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at She Wolf Alchemy. Give us a like or review wherever you're listening. Give us a review with some words. It's very helpful for us. And make sure to like and share with others, guys. We will have a new episode for you guys in 2 weeks. We thank you so much for listening and bye.
Bye.